Teaching English Radio India.
A radio series for teachers of English.
Brought to you by the British Council.
Hello and welcome to what we think will be a joyful program in this series for teachers of English. I am Manisha Dag and I'm a teacher and trainer. As usual, teachers from all over India will be sharing their ideas with us. In fact, their favorite activities. And here are some of the teachers we'll meet today.
I'm Kalpana from Bangalore.
I'm Altaf from Raichur in Karnataka.
I'm Himani from Delhi.
Hi, I'm Shefali from Trivandrum, Kerala.
Until recently, education was usually based on a one-way flow of information, from the teacher to the students. The teacher would speak and the children would listen. But in all subjects, it seems that things are changing here in India. Listen to what the student Mahir had to say when we asked him how he likes to learn.
The teacher should probably do new things like a history teacher, she got in puppets. So in English also the teacher should try to do some stuff like that. Recently we had our English activity. Me and my friends were in a group and we had to make a chart on either one of these movies. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Nanny McPhee and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Wow! Choosing a film that they enjoyed and making a chart about it? Interesting, isn't it? Can you guess which one they chose?
So we did it on Harry Potter. It was very interesting. We had to watch the movie beforehand and we made a drawing of Harry Potter and then one of my friends did a drawing of a wand and a broom. And then we just had to write a small synopsis, give it a rating. Yeah, we had to read out the synopsis and we had to read out the cast. So, director, producer, and then the main cast and all.
As Mahir said, he and his friends were engaged in an activity that they were really interested in, talking about a Harry Potter film. It was an activity where the students had to listen, they had to write, they had to speak, and they also picked up some new vocabulary: cast, director, producer, synopsis. If you are in doubt, synopsis is a brief outline of the story of a film, which is what they had to write. Here, Mahir is learning not only from what he is told by his teacher, but also from what he does, from an activity. That's what we are talking about today, activities to motivate our students. Let's listen to what Himani says.
It was very important for me to motivate my learners at all times because English was something which they were not very comfortable with. It was something new to them. So if they were not motivated at the proper time, it would have been impossible for them to continue throughout the course. There were learners who didn't use a single word of Hindi throughout the class, and then I would, probably reward them by giving them a chocolate or something like that.
Chocolates. But hold on, encouragement could come in other forms, such as stars on a chart, a pat on the back, a clap from the class, or lots of praise. Here's Himani again.
Whenever someone came up with a new idea or something which was very good, the entire class used to applaud. The learners really, cherished those moments.
The National Curriculum Framework, known as NCF 2005, encourages more student participation. Joyful learning is the future. And activities don't necessarily have to come from the teacher. Sometimes the teacher just has to set up the situation for students to take up an activity on their own. For instance, Shefali, another teacher, started a book corner to encourage reading and later began to put her students' own short stories up on a special wall. Then she invited the others to read them and vote for the best ones.
In my class, my kids have a book corner. So they bring in some books which they have been gifted, or sometimes I give them books as gifts, or people donate books. So that's a library that they maintain for their own friends. And you can pick books from there as long as you note down on the wall which book you're taking, and then you return it after a specific number of days. And sometimes when we have a free period, we talk about the book we had taken and read. So it encourages reading for pleasure.
Shefali's students loved the chance to have their writing put on display and wanted to have their stories voted as the best. Over time, more students got involved and the stories got better and better.
The children write some stories over the weekend or over their vacation, and then they are posted on the wall. And others are encouraged to go and read those stories and vote for the stories they like. So that's encouraging both writing and reading activities in class. So initially they would only come up with a very short story because there wasn't much involvement, or they didn't expect a prize or anticipate the votes. But as it became more competitive, there were a lot of children participating in it. My students loved it, absolutely.
Absolutely. Shefali created an exciting atmosphere where students enjoyed writing at home. We used to call it homework, didn't we?
You're listening to Teaching English Radio India, a series for teachers of English, brought to you by the British Council.
Today, we are looking at activities to motivate your students. It is well known that it is easier for a young person to learn a new language than for an adult. But on the other hand, many children feel embarrassed about speaking English. That is where the teacher can step in to build confidence and motivate them. The right atmosphere and praise are great motivators. Now let's consider some other activities we can do to motivate our students. Sometimes the class needs a physical warm-up activity. This is Kalpana who, with a little help from her colleagues, will demonstrate for us how she gets her class really moving.
This is one warm-up which I did it, I wrote myself, and it's a simple gesture activity. Do as I do and repeat what I say. Okay? Hey, I'm Joe.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I work in a button factory.
I work in a button factory.
I have a wife and 3 children.
I have a wife and 3 children.
One day, my boss came to me and said, Joe.
Joe.
I said, yo.
I said, yo.
Are you busy?
Are you busy?
I said, no.
I said, no.
Then press the button.
Then press the button.
In your right hand.
In your right hand.
Hey, I'm Joe.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I work in a button factory.
I work in a button factory.
I have a wife
and
3 children.
Do you get the idea?
One day,
Joe, that is you, goes on to press the button with his right hand first and then simultaneously with the left hand. Then with the elbows, knees and even forehead. By the time you reach the end of this activity, various parts of your body are pressing the button simultaneously. And believe me, students love it. What's great about this activity is not only that it's fun, but also it loosens the students' tongues. They don't feel embarrassed because they're all doing it together. Once the students are warmed up, they are ready to carry on in English.
Joe. I said, yo.
I said, yo.
Are you busy?
Are you busy?
I said, no.
Now for another fun activity which engages students' brains and makes them think carefully about forming questions and answers in English. This activity, described by teacher Altaf, is called Alibi.
In this activity, 2 students would be selected and they would be accused of something. For example, they robbed the bank. at 10 a.m. Now, these two students, they give an excuse that yesterday at 10 o'clock we did not rob the bank, but instead we were shopping at MG Road. Okay, the teacher sends these two children outside, and the whole class, which is detectives, they have to ask them questions about their excuse. The class will ask them the questions like, where were you yesterday at 10 o'clock? What did you buy? What is the name of the shop? What was your partner wearing? When did you go and when did you return? What did you shop? All such kinds of questions the class is going to ask.
So, two students are accused of the bank robbery and they stand outside the class trying to agree on their story, their alibi. They have to think about questions they may be asked by their classmates and make sure they agree on the answers. Their answers should match, or else they would be proven guilty. Meanwhile, the students in the classroom are working on the questions they will ask these two students. Then the teacher calls one of the two students back into the classroom.
The one child comes inside the classroom, and all the class who's playing the role of the detectives, they ask questions about their shopping at MG Road the day earlier. He answers all the questions. Then the second child would be called, and to the second child, same set of questions will be asked. And then at the end, the teacher judges how many answers given by these two students match and how many answers did not match. If most of the answers match, they are innocent. If the most of the answers don't match, they would be called as criminals.
Brilliant! This involves a lot of thinking. Playing alibi is a great way to practice correct question forms and the use of past tenses. What did you buy? What was the name of the shop? What was he wearing? You could do this activity after a unit in your textbook that focuses on these grammar points, so your students can practice what they have learned. Now for an activity that is good for spelling and vocabulary. It is a simple game called Crossword. All you need is the board. The basic idea can be adapted to practice any new words that you have been teaching. Like a crossword in the newspaper, the boxes can be arranged as a grid. Some words are horizontal and others vertical. The words cross at the point where they share the same letter. So every time students get a word right, they'll also get a letter for another word. This game can be played in teams, so students have to collaborate with each other in English. It can be adapted for any level. So to make it easier, you can provide a few of the letters in advance. Today we have shared just a few of the activities that teachers talk to us about. What they have in common is that they don't need special resources. I have some more suggestions which are coming up in future programs. So do join us again. It is time to summarize. Today, we heard about a group activity based on a favorite film, setting up a student's book corner, talking about books and writing short stories to go on a special wall. We motivate our students by encouraging and praising them, by allowing them some freedom to work creatively and actively. There are literally hundreds of motivating activities that you can do with your students for listening and speaking, for writing and reading. Think about songs, games, quizzes and puzzles, and competitions. Share your own ideas and materials with other teachers. Adapt them for the level and interest of your classes and the language you want them to practice. What will work with your students? Alright, it's time for me to go. This is Manisha Daksh signing off. I hope you can join us again next time. Until then, I wish you happy teaching.